Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here in blinding white style because white background screens make me look even more like a ghost. And we're going to be covering the 8.1 patch release notes that are here now for Total War Warhammer 3. I'm pretty excited to get into these patch notes. I've looked at a couple little things when they initially were sent out and saw some things that definitely had my eyebrows up and at attention, but had a busy day yesterday, so apologies this wasn't out right when the patch notes dropped, but I wanted to go ahead and go over them today because I do think there's a lot of things worth calling out in this particular set. And every once in a while when I make these, there's occasionally people who are like, oh, I didn't even know there was a patch, so you know, helps to cover them. So without further ado, let's get going because there is a lot, and I have mostly, I think, pretty positive opinions. Though we're going to definitely be setting aside some time this week, probably to play around a little bit and just check out how it's feeling. So first, we have the much desired campaign AI improvements patch. This one I'm really excited for. I hope it works as good as Creative Assembly wants it to. Obviously, this is one of those things where they're saying a lot is going to be improved about the AI, but we kind of, we all have to play it and kind of test it to see if that's going to be true. So, campaign AI prioritization. So, what did they change? There are certain AI tasks that lead to its armies clustering and idling, basically focusing on defending key regions. Therefore, we've added a new mechanism that allows us to control exactly what the AI campaign prioritizes, depending on how many turns have passed since the campaign start. Using this new mechanism, we've deprioritized tasks such as defending key regions in the late game, as contextually they're not that useful at this stage of the campaign anyway. How will this change affect you in game? We expect this to solve a number of cases where the campaign AI armies are clustered and idle around settlements, and the mechanism we've developed makes this tweak also allows us to more easily solve similar campaign AI behavior issues in the future. So basically what they're just saying is that now, as you play through a campaign, that AI should get more aggressive the longer the campaign drags out, which is good. I think this is actually a very, very good thing. One of the things that traditionally has led to a late game feeling very boring is when you kind of go out and you get established and like all of the enemy AI factions start to build up and become established, and then they just sit there. It wasn't guaranteed to happen, but it was very, very often happening that these AI factions would just park and get stuck, and they would just continuously build up armies, and like best case scenario, you as the player could declare war on them, which would then result in them unleashing an absolute tidal wave of armies against you that they have been building up for God knows how many turns, and it kind of made the late game miserable. A good example of this, I mean, y'all know how much I love this game, but if you saw like the last, especially not the last stream, but the second to last and the third to last streams of the Kolek Suneater campaign I did recently I streamed recently to finish my achievement set for the trilogy, I genuinely started having a pretty bad time with that campaign because a lot of the factions for the AI had just been steadily building up armies that they weren't doing anything with, and then when they would inevitably get into a war with me, they just sent them at me. And so there was just so much buildup that I had to grind through. And a lot of the other AIs that could potentially threaten them would be more defensively minded. So I'm basically having to solo just dozens of 20 stacks. And it just made the game a grind. So hopefully this should make that sort of behavior significantly less likely, which is good for everybody. I don't think that's a bad thing at all in the slightest, and is going to do nothing but improve the game. So great. And hopefully, and this, as they said, also will allow them to tweak in the future. So if this ends up being something that needs to be tuned further, they can do so, which will be great. So that being said, they do mention that there are a couple of specific issues that they are aware of and are working on right now, which we may see as hot fixes between now and the release of Lords of the End Times, because there's no more patches between now and Lord of the End Times. Lord of the End Times is going to be is patched 9.0. They've confirmed that. So, well, I say that there could be another patch. Ignore me. I don't think there's going to be another big patch. I will say that. I think there might be some hotfixes, but from what I'm thinking, based on how development seems to be going, I genuinely believe that I don't think there's going to be an 8.2. I think we're going to go straight to 9.0. I could be wrong, but I'm personally not expecting an 8.2. So for issues that they know are in the game and might show up in near a hotfix or in 9.0, we have in-game factions that spawn before turn 40 are more likely to have problems. This is not going to be relevant to the vast majority of players because most people do not want to smash their heads against playing against the in-game factions before turn 40. To do that, you have to basically manually turn that on. Multiple in-game scenarios triggering at the same time can cause regular factions boarding in-game factions clump. So once again, this is something the vast majority of players are not going to experience. You have to personally turn on the system that allows multiple in-games to happen simultaneously. This is only for kind of the most hardcore players or players that just want their campaigns to be as messy and chaotic as possible. But worth keeping in mind. In-game factions bordering other in-game factions clumping around settlements or near borders. Once again, only if you have multiple ones enabled. In-game factions at war with other in-game factions that share a border or fight over a contested province can form pockets of armies locked in a standoff. So, okay, in-game factions bordering a human of similar superior strength. Okay, so basically, all of this is if you're going up against one of the in-game triggered factions, so the dwarves go crazy, the Tomb Kings go crazy, etc., then you are looking at they have a tendency to be more defensive and still use clumping behavior. For the vast majority of players, this shouldn't really be relevant, but it could be, especially if you are, late in the campaign. But for the vast majority of people, I would say that play the game, even if you're going for like long victories, unless you specifically trigger in-game events early, this probably will almost never come up. All right, then we have new landmarks. Hooray! I love landmarks. I think landmarks are one of the most important things to have in the game because they help build the character of the world. They tell stories and they allow players to have locations that they're going to be particularly drawn to because there's special rewards. So you receive some sort of incentive to go after particular locations and build your empire in certain directions, and it just adds like some really nice story building. I have been very strongly of the opinion that it would be nice if every single hotfix and every single patch came with some landmarks, even if it's just one or two. I think if they could just chip away at adding landmarks consistently, that would be fantastic for the state of the game. So first we have the Village of the Tiger Men, which is going to receive the Monument of the White Tiger. So we see here, this landmark says, the White Tiger stands as a symbol for the strength and perseverance of the Tiger Warriors, her image giving a sense of cultural pride and unyielding spirit. And this gives you plus 10% spell intensity to all claw speakers, which is very, very good. Minus 2 wound recovery time for all Tiger Warrior characters. Minus 15% recruitment faction-wide for all Tiger Warrior units. And minus 20% cooldown to all Tiger Warrior Sawai abilities, being the Guiding Strike, Masterful Strike, Predatory Instincts. So, yeah, this is absolutely bonkers. This is very, 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 very good. So if you like using Tiger Warriors, then you need to get your hands on this landmark. Like, if you're playing as Bashiva, this is a location you probably want to try and beeline to and get your hands on, which is really fun and interesting because this actually is likely going to put you at odds with Balthazar Gelt, potentially, which adds kind of an interesting dynamic of like Bashiva, despite being loyal to Zhao Ming, is potentially going to want to kill one of his early potential allies. So that's a bit fun, a bit storytelling, because he's taking your territory. Or if you want to be buddy-buddy with Zhao Ming's other guys, you could always trade him for settlements. Then we have a new landmark in Shenyang. This one I'm actually really excited about. So we have the House of Secrets. So the House of Secrets is something that has been talked about a lot within the lore of Grand Cathay. This is basically where people that practice the lore of metal are welcomed into Cathay, because they are outlawed in the vast majority of Grand Cathay. So we have the House of Secrets, with such outcast practitioners of elemental magic find a safe haven within the walls of Shenyang, where they can dabble in obscure alchemical experiments. And this gives you 300 gold per turn. Fantastic. Unlocks the Alchemist, which this is a tier 3 building. That's actually, so that's nice. So it unlocks, it's the same tier as Alchemist, but it also gives you +2 hero recruit rank for Alchemist faction wide. Excellent. And +2 hero capacity for Alchemist. So this is a fantastic building. And then it also gives all the Alchemist Elixir of Iron Skin, Alchemist Elixir of Puissance, and Potion of Healing to all characters factions. So all the drinking items faction wide get a -20% cooldown on using them. This is really, really nice, not only for the Alchemist characters, but it can affect characters that just have the common items equipped, if they manage to somehow get like multiple uses, because this is only really helpful if you have multiple uses of those abilities. But that's a very, very solid building. The income helps a lot. Then in Nangao, we have the Terracotta Road, which says, travelers between the cities of Nangao and Weijin feel safe in the shadows of the giant terracotta protectors lining the road, their gazes fixed on the Great Bastion. So this gives you Terracotta Sentinels unlocked at tier 4, which is actually earlier than you get them normally. I believe they're a tier 5 unit normally, if memory serves. You also get +200 defensive supplies faction wide, which is very, very good. +50 per turn when under siege faction wide. Fantastic. These are particularly good if you're defending the Great Bastion. The Great Bastion, I still feel like needs some tweaks, but it's been getting it's getting there. But I really still feel like it should be made as an exclusive mechanic to Miao Ying, that she has much heavier interaction with it. There are things they could do to make the Bastion itself a bit more intriguing, we'll say. This also gives you 10% upkeep production and +2 recruitment rank faction-wide for all Terracotta Sentinels. Once again, really, really good. And if you like your big clay mechas or terracotta mechas, then this is absolutely the building for you. And this is going to be really, really good for Miao Ying armies. And then last, it's nice that it's in Nangao as well, so Shenyang, Nangao, because this means that both Miao Ying and Zhao Ming now have 2 locations of interest, or landmarks. Sorry, not locations of interest, but they both have 2 landmarks within their capitals, which just makes these locations just so much nicer for those factions. A part of me is a little interested that they put the Terracotta Road in Nangao. I almost feel like it should have gone like in one of the settlements between Nangao and Weijin. Like it should have been like in the Terracotta Graveyard or something. But it makes the building better because it's frankly in a city that is really easy to defend if you're the player, because the like 9 concentric, the 9 walls of Nangao, or whatever it's called, which is the other landmark building, makes Nangao like very good at defending in sieges. And then last we have Shiwu. So this is the Great Maritime Lift, which says, to reach the port of the City of Dawn, trade vessels are hoisted hundreds of feet up the steep cliffside of Mount Li by this marvel of Cathayan engineering. So that's super cool, and actually tells us some really interesting things about Cathay technology that we didn't have until now. The idea that Cathay has invented like really notable lift systems that allow ships to move up a steep cliffside by hundreds of feet is very impressive. but even better, the ability it gives you is actually fantastic. This is one of those landmarks that anyone that can build it is going to want to build this, because it basically gets rid of any movement costs for embarking or disembarking when which means whenever you move into the ocean or onto naval tiles, and then when you move back onto land. So this is actually fantastic. It also makes sea lanes journey durations shorter. Now, I think these are all Cathayan only landmarks. I'm not 100% sure about that. Some of them may be open to other factions. The only one I think that would be like particularly useful to other factions would probably be the Grand Naval Lift and Shiwu. The other three, unless there was an alternate version, they would be basically useless to non-Cathayan factions. I would love to see the Shiwu one, though, potentially open to other factions, because there are some groups like Lokir Fellheart, all of the Vampire Coast factions, and I think Wulfric. I don't think it's all of Norsca. It might just be Wulfric. But there's a number of factions that are able to ignore embarking and disembarking penalties, but the vast majority of the factions in the game do not get to ignore that. So I think they'll really appreciate that as a potential option. For new technologies, we have 2 new techs in the Cathay skill tree, which are meant to buff Tiger Warriors, which is really, really good. It was honestly one of the notable weaknesses I saw in the Cathayan tech tree, was that the Tiger Warriors didn't really have many dedicated techs. It was mostly just like, oh, this buffs all of your military infantry units, because they did not get access to the Yang buildings or techs, because some of the techs would buff all Yang units, which are military, or which are melee units that give off Yang synergy. But Tiger Warriors obviously do not participate in the Harmony system, so they didn't get any of those buffs. So they would only get buffs from the techs that were more focused on like all the units of a certain type. So this gives 2 techs that are new, that are just purely for buffing Tiger Warriors. The first being Tiger's Call, which gives upkeep reduction for Tiger Warrior Stalkers, which is nice because they're really good, but pretty expensive. Minus 10% recruitment cost for all Tiger Warriors, and then plus 2 base missile damage for all Tiger Warrior Stalkers, which is really nice, especially because the Tiger Warrior Stalkers have had pretty significant changes, which we'll talk about later. And then Hone Senses, which is the higher tier tech, which gives minus 10% upkeep to Tiger Warriors with dual axes and Ironclaw Tiger Warrior units. I will say, I do want to call out, it's very interesting to me that they specify dual axes, because when they put in parentheses like that, that means it's a weapon variant. So I'm hoping this means we might see one of the other Tiger Warrior variants in the future. I've talked about this in the past, and I think most people are aware of this, but originally it seemed that the plan was to have significantly more Tiger Warriors, because I think there were supposed to be 3 basic Tiger Warriors, 2 Stalker variants, and 2 Ironclaw variants. And then, of course, as we all know, in the actual DLC, we only got 111. But it is my sincere hope that in future patches or future hotfixes, they will slowly but surely add in some of the other variants. We might not necessarily need all of them, because it's very possible that they tested some of them and were like, oh, these units are kind of redundant in the Cathayan roster. But I would like to see, at minimum, I'd like to see the Tiger Warriors with with axe and shield, and I'd also like to see the Tiger Warrior Stalkers with dual kataras that are meant just for melee. I think if we got both of those, that would be really, really nice. Anyway, this tech also gives you plus 2 recruit rank for all Tiger Warrior units, and you get 10% speed for all Tiger Warriors and Ironclaws. Very cool. And then, it finally happened. Additional campaign side updates. Goblin Big Boss, Goblin Great Shaman, and the Orc War Boss got chariot mounts. Thank you! Thank you, God! I have been bitching about this for months and months and months, and we finally got them! This is awesome! It also screws up the script I've been working on. I have a video that will probably be out in the next week or so, where, actually, it'll probably be a little over a week. I have been working on a video that I call, like, the big mount update. I have to think of a clever name for it. If anyone can think of like a cool sounding title about like a pun or just something that sounds catchy that would be about like a big long video about adding all the missing mounts to the game, feel free to leave it in the, the comment section, and I will give you full credit for. But I would love to steal if anyone can think of a clever name. But one of the things I was actually going to talk a lot about was the missing mounts for the greenskins. That was a notable part of the greenskins section. And it was really frustrating because they implemented these into the game with the Warden and the Paunch. So way back in Warhammer 2, when we got our High Elves versus Greenskins DLC, the big one of the things they did was they added in custom battle, they added the Goblin Big Boss, Goblin Great Shaman, and Orc War Boss to have chariot mounts, and then never implemented them into campaign for some reason. So that has been fixed, which is great, especially for people that like running thematic armies like me. So now with your orcs, you can have you can have a big old chariot army, and for goblins, especially with Grom, you can have like full wolf boy armies now, or wolf chariot armies. So that's really exciting. I will note my only issue with this, and it will be in my big mount video, is that we are actually still missing one, which is that the Black Orc Big Boss is supposed to be able to ride a chariot. I have checked. It is in the army book, but in the actual army book, you are indeed able to put a Black Orc Big Boss on an Orc Boar chariot. So that is a chariot option that we are still missing. But now it's the only one missing, so progress. You got 3 out of 4. And then this one, which I will try and see if I can, I'll look at this before I end this video, of that the dragon-blooded Shukagen lords now have personalized skill trees. So that's actually really, really exciting. Personalized skill trees is really, really nice. This will help them feel a bit more unique, which is nice. Because they already had like a little bit of uniqueness because they had different bound spells they could take. But hey, more options, the better. All right, now let's get into the heavier general stuff and see what things got fixed. All right, so fixed an issue with Zhao Ming's goals triggering for Bashiva around the Chaos invasions. Cool. Okay, bug fixes. I'm not gonna add a lot. I'll just say great. Fixed a bug upon meeting maximum capacity Garden of War panel. Removing one location does not cause available locations to repopulate. Interesting. Good fix though. Fixed an issue with dragon ship armies, causing them to not grant settled grudges or iron favor. Note that this fix will not affect saved armies, only new started campaigns. Oh, okay. So the dragon ship, it's weird that it's dragon ship because iron favor is for, I'm assuming this is saying that if an army is led by a dragon ship, it was not granting settled grudges for the dwarfs or iron favor for Bashiva, and that has now been fixed. So that's good. Playing as Lizardman, the main buildings of Itzan Heshwaddle should now provide the same control effect as regular ones. Good. Hotkeys have been disabled during the Realm of Chaos narrative event messages to prevent other problems. Okay. The building, the Sanctum of Quintek, should now provide its growth effect faction-wide instead of only for the local province. So this is only for the Oxiodal campaign, and that's good. That's good. That just makes those buildings more useful for him. On a larger basis to make it a more tempting option. I believe that was one of the weaker sanctums. So that's really nice. Because the sanctums were they're like the underground or hidden buildings that he can build underneath other settlements. The Rampaging Oak landmark, which is the unique building for Bellicor within the Mordheim, has had its effects change. Now it makes it where if Bellicor takes it, it immediately causes wall breaches when besieging for Bellicor's personal army. That is fantastic. That is super duper good. Yeah, that's great. That makes it where Bellicor is that's going to really, really incentivize people to send Bellicor to Mordheim early through his portals because he has the option to basically invade Mordheim on like turn 1 if he wants. And this will actually give you a big reason to do so, because it basically gives you a big rampaging demon tree that will smash holes in walls every single time Bellicor besieges anything, which is great. And then it also gives you Siege Attacker for all characters faction-wide. That's not that's cute. It's not a huge deal right now. Siege Attacker isn't like that interesting of a trait at the moment. Maybe when we get the siege rework, which is going to be coming in, I think it's the patch after Lord of the End Times, so I think it's going to be 9.1. Maybe Siege Attacker will be a bit more interesting then, because right now it's just like it enables you to do anything, but I don't think it actually adds much in the way of building damage. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it does. The minor faction, Sildrator, should no longer get Zinch corruption from an unknown source. Great. We don't like bonus Zinch corruption. That shouldn't exist. Astromancy stance, or going into Astromancy stance, which is the Lizardman one, will no longer take 25 campaign movement range on each turn, and will now only take that cost when entering the stance as intended. Very, very good. The following new landmarks exclusive to Grand Cathay have been added. Okay, so yes. All right, so these three are exclusive. I guess they forgot the one for Nangao, but okay, so all four of them are exclusive for Grand Cathay. That's fine. That's totally fine. Just makes Cathay a more interesting place for Cathayan factions. When an enemy occupies a settlement with a purple hand, the unusual location foreign slot no longer shows building slots if any were originally present. Okay, so the purple hand ones no longer, they go away now when they're supposed to. Fix a script error when starting Tarek's quest battle Heart of the Dark. Good. The Orthodoxy and Ice Core building chain should no longer remain in Kislev settlements after they've been conquered. Yeah, that's good. That has been a very, very annoying thing that I have found constantly. My recent Kolek campaign, this happens a ton. Fixed an issue where the title Slayer of Champions for the Warriors of Chaos wasn't unlocked upon completing the requirement. Good. The effect bundle Raise the Banner should now decrease costs and increase recruitment rank of warband recruitment units. Also good. Lords will no longer lose action points mid-turn by changing mounts or ancillaries. Those bonuses will be properly changed on turn start only. Also really, really good. Fixed an issue with reallocation of AP when switching stances. Good. Fixed instances for recruiting a save character would initiate a dilemma, allowing stacking name of power buffs. There are some cheesers that are very sad to see that fix. The settlement of Massive Oracle should now have 10 construction slots available instead of 8, whenever you're playing as Greenskins or Bretonia. That's fantastic. It's a single settlement province, so I think that's totally fair. I will say I don't think Massive Oracle should be a single settlement province. I believe it should have a minor settlement added on the other side of those peaks, which should be the Black Chasm, which should start with a Skaven minor faction. I really, really want that because the Black Chasm is like a really important place to the Skaven. It's one of the largest undercities, but that's an argument for another time. Lords will no longer lose health or other stats when changing mounts in the same turn. Good. Alright, faction mechanics. Vampires and Dark Elves have been added to the Iron Favor targeting cultures for Bashiva. That makes total sense. They are major enemies of Grand Cathay. Added a price cap to all factions within the armies of Shenyang. Costs are now capped to 10 times their original value. That's really good. They should not be infinite. So that's good. Treasury and Iron Favor rewards now fixed to the mission type. Scaling for destruction faction missions tweaked to better reflect the faction size, and slightly improved Iron Favor from culture targeting missions. Okay, that's good. I definitely found a lot of the missions to be a little annoying, so I'm glad that they have made some efforts on that. Let's see. Fix an issue where armies of Shangyang would sometimes get more than 3 Zhao Ming's goals. Okay. Increase the gold rewards from Zhao Ming's gold, and increase gold and favor rewards scaling based on the target difficulty. Good. Adding building buff to Tiger Den when playing as Yuan Bo in Fortress Settlements. All right. Lord Lim Bashiva's army of Shenyang no longer counts armies borrowed from allied factions. Yeah, that would definitely be a problem. That's good they fixed that. Fixed issue where caravan rewards are not updating. Good. Caravan encounters with Chaos Wars now resolved correctly without unforeseen wars. Good. Fixed an issue where the capture settlement target and Zhao Ming's goals would sometimes repeat with the same settlement. Yeah, don't want that. To plan, scripted tour no longer breaks. Fix an issue with oath activation requirements could be bypassed. Okay, good. Fix an issue where missions under Zhao Ming's goals are hidden if they have not been accepted but have had their requirements met, preventing new missions from repopulating. That fucking sucks. Good, that's fixed. Changed Raised Dead recruitment panel to include pending recruitment costs in its calculations, so that it is no longer possible to queue up more units than you can afford. That's nice. I don't know how relevant this is going to be, considering how drastic the vampire count changes are, which I still need to make a video on. Jesus Christ. But that's good. Change the effects for the ritual Mistwalker reinforcements and Tyrion's Champion of Othelon mechanic. So the effect no longer targets only Mistwalker unit. That's really good because that was super niche. Remove the Vigor Loss reduction effect, but now it gives the Envelop and Mist army ability and adds an effect granting all units in the army the passive ability Grim Discipline, which replaces Martial Mastery and Martial Prowess. Okay, so now it's a much more useful buff. Yeah, because the other one was basically useless. It required you to ally with... You basically would have to, like, do military alliance and then recruit allied units from... Wait, can you even ally? I don't know if you can recruit allied Mistwalker units. If you can't, you should be able to. I should ping CA about that. Because I've always been a very big proponent of, I think, the fact that the regular Griffin Riders, I really feel like they should be a normal unit and not just a Mistwalker unit. But at minimum, they should make it where you can ally recruit them from Eltharion. Because I think it's dumb that other High Elves can't use them. Because they're like a really unique unit type that, if they were Dragon Riders, that would be, I'd be like, okay, that's really, really powerful. That should probably be extremely limited. But it's like, they're Griffin Riders. They're like the equivalent of Hippogriff Riders. Like, I don't think they should be restricted to only Eltharion the Grim. Anyway, Ritual Blessed Cold One Spears in Nakai's Temple, the old one, should now state the correct amount of spawning sequence it grants. Good. Cults for the Mask of T'Challa have received the following updates. The Building Charm Offensive has been added for the mask with adjusted effects. The Ritual of Excess has been updated for the mask and now has a cost in favor and provides a large amount of devotees to the mask upon building completion. Very good. The Building Ritual of Excess has been added for T'Challa's Magus cults with effects and costs adjusted for T'Challa. When playing as Slaanesh, the Demon Prince of Slaanesh Lord should now have the Devour Captives post-battle option. That's very, very good, being able to heal. Change the logic of Sail's Blind War. It now causes the target you use it on to declare war on all factions it knows, except for Sail himself, his human allies, or any of their vassals. That is so much stronger. That is so much stronger. Okay, that's a big buff to say one of Sail's gimmicks. Caravans can no longer be dispatched before starting the scripted tour for Cathay caravans. All right, cool, whatever. Fixed an issue where Elspeth was able to construct more than 5 gardens of more. Rip people that liked garden spam. Scripted tour for the Palace Pleasure no longer. Okay, cool. The boar meat ingredient for Grom's Cauldron should now unlock when a Savage Orc Shaman unlocks his War Boar mount. Wurzag unlocks Spleen Rippa, or Gorbad unlocks Narla. So basically, they just increased the instead of making it where only if a generic character gets a boar, they made it where they've added to any of the characters that could logically get a boar when you're playing a Grom campaign. If they get a boar, will now unlock the boar meat. And the Spider Yoke now unlocks if you recruit a Ragnarok Spider Flinger. Very, very good, making those easier to acquire. The Deep's foreign slot should be removed if the settlement is traded to another faction. Cool. So that's funny that actually wasn't a thing. I didn't realize that. So basically that just makes it where if you trade settlements with dwarfs, you don't somehow hold on to the deep slots. The Ritual of Pestilence and Ritual of Plague now correctly increase Epidemius' tally mechanic. That's really, really cool. So basically, if the Skaven use rituals to summon their little plague rats and cause plagues, Epidemius now benefits. Dark Elves should now get the same income from ports benefit that High Elves receive from the main building in the ancient Elven colony settlements. Okay, makes sense. That should work both ways. Establishing a colony in the Shrine of Cain's ruins as Ashlyn no longer requires colony availability points and doesn't cost. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Characters, fix a soft lock, cool. Adjusted the Fruits of Torment after completing all narrative missions at T'Challa. It will now increase the unit capacity and replenishment rate in the demonic attraction recruitment. Hey, that's neat. Okay, that's cool. So you get more demons. So you have more demons as options to pull from, and you also get improved replenishment. Nakai should now get to keep his horde buildings after he gets confederated by another Lizardman faction. Nice. That's going to make him so much less shitty. That's really, really good. Rapunzel de Leonis will now start her campaign with a peace treaty and military access with the agreement, a military access agreement with the faction Leonis. Peace treaty? I imagine they mean non-aggression pact, because I don't think she started a war with them. So I assume they mean non-aggression. They accidentally said peace treaty. But hey, that's great. That'll make it where you like can actually kind of see what's going on with Leonis, and you have like more awareness of what's happening with them, which will make it easier to confederate them. So that's great, and that makes total sense and is cool for her. Units, fix an issue where Sotek the Watcher was ignored by some skills that affect heroes. Makes sense. Gifts of Slanesh was not being applied to generals when they were wounded or have hero actions applied to them. I hadn't noticed that. I'm really glad they fixed that. Makes Slanesh more consistent. Fix an issue where the Demon Smith Sorcerer with the lore of Hashit didn't hide Forest. Hilarious. And Rewards of Dread, the cost to increase unit capacity of Chimera and Prague should now show correctly each time you purchase it. Okay. That's fine. Just makes it a bit better. I still want them to do some tweaks to the Rewards of Dread. I need to make a thing about that, because I feel like all of the God Gores should be one category. It's very silly to me that they're all their own individual category. It feels like the God Gores they should either include regular Gores with them, or they should, and it's just Gores, or it should be like you have regular Gores and then you've got God Gores. I feel like it's very weird that they have them each individual uniquely. Increase the recruitment time of Chimera to 2 turns to be equal to all their tier 4 monsters. That's reasonable. It's going to slow down monster acquisition, but that seems fair. When playing as the Tomb Kings faction, the Salt Mine building now shows the increase to the recruitment rank of Lich Priest as intended. Very good. We already talked about the Shukengen stuff. Balance stuff. Meowing's starting army has been buffed to help her early campaign experience. That's very, very good. Meowing's campaign is actually fairly difficult right now, especially compared to a lot of them, because she's getting attacked rather harshly from both directions, thanks to the Clan Eshin, and then there's just a lot of shit coming at her from the north. I still think that they need to get. I still really, really want there to be a unique campaign experience for Miaoying and Xiaoming that revolves around, they really, I think, need to take away the Bastion mechanic from Xiaoming, because he's just too far away for him to care. Like, he's just not close enough for that to affect him. And he should just focus on like alchemy gimmicks, and then Miaoying should focus heavily on the Great Bastion, and she should get like substantial rewards if she manages to protect it for like certain amounts of time, and also if she manages to like, for each gate that she builds up to maximum tier, I feel like she should get some kind of like notable reward to like really encourage you to be like, that's what your campaign is supposed to revolve around for the early game. And then maybe give her like a mechanic around the forges of Nangao, so like upgrades for black powder units or something like that. Increase the number of stalkers and Ivory Road dilemmas. Reduce the price of units in one of the choices when units are given to the Ivory Road event. That's good. I still have thoughts about the Ivory Road. They are very difficult once you get into like the mid game. They get like really hard. Some ancillary balancing. The Dragon's Gaze gives you better armor, minus 15%. The Horns of Shangyang. So I don't remember who the Dragon's Gaze is. Oh, I think this is Yuan Bo's armor. Because it's the eyes that he has on his armor. So it gives him another plus 15 armor and lowers the enemy hero success chance against him by 15%. That's fantastic. Dragon's Fang is his personal weapon. Now gives you a bonus melee attack, which is really good. The Burning Van Braces are Zhao Ming's, I think, enchanted item or armor, one of the two. Gives you plus 6 melee defense and melee attack now. That's great. Van Braces of Yin do the same thing. Awesome. So just making the dragons a lot more consistent and better at fighting. The Horns of Shangyang now give you an additional plus 15 armor and 30 spell resist. That's super good. So those are the horns that Zhao Ming wears. And then the Stormwind Coronal, which is Miaoying's, gives her another plus 15 armor. And instead of physical resist, it gives you a plus 12% ward save. Very good. Awesome. Events and missions. Steer card of the Swordsveneer will now appear for Azazel after finishing his missions. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for Azazel to be added to the goddamn Norska. Azazel should be a Norskin character in addition to the factions he's already a part of. I really, really hate that we're still having to say this. Really hate we're still having to say this. But please, 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 CA, add Azazel to Norska. Please add him to Norska. He is a Norskin character. And if you allowed Sila Anfrigrim, who is also a Norskin character, to be part of Norska, which you already do, there's no reason not to let Azazel also be part of Norska. Please get that in there. Beastman. When playing as the Beastman, completing the mission Fall of Man should now properly trigger the event The Fall of Men, which grants the ancillary banner of Fallen Kings. That's good. I noticed that was missing when my Beastman campaign I think I did was Malagor the Dark Omen. And it was really weird for me that it's like, okay, you get this mission and then you play it, and then Warhammer 1 and I think Warhammer 2 Mortal Empires, it gave you this, I don't remember what it did, but it gave you like a really good banner. And then it just sort of disappeared in Warhammer 3. So they brought it back and fixed it. That's really, really good. When playing as Grom the Paunch, all versions of the mission Cook for the Hag should now properly complete when the correct recipe and ingredients are cooked. That's really, really good. That's a core mechanic for Grom that's meant to incentivize you to do certain things, and you get like really nice bonuses. But it was super busted, so I'm glad they fixed that. Fixed a script error that occurred when completing a shanty mission. Good. Gotrek and Felix quest battles are now available for Bashiva. That's awesome. However, I will say I still think they need to add Gotrek and Felix for High Queen Khalida and Teclis, because both Teclis and Khalida have a dedicated novel in the Gotrek and Felix series where Gotrek and Felix specifically work for / alongside them. Like, they are full-on allies, borderline friends. There's no reason why Teclis and Khalida should not have access to Gotrek and Felix. I think it's completely ridiculous that they haven't done that yet. They need to fix that. Fixed a bug where demonic invasion forces and Bashiva's questline do nothing. Okay, well, that's a good fix. Let's see. Fixed Cathay and ancillaries not being properly generated. Good. Fixed an issue where fusing 2 green arcanimes as Valkia was destroying but wasn't producing a blue. That is very funny. That they're okay. I mean, it's good it's fixed. But I will say it does feel kind of on par, like kind of appropriate for Valkia. Like, the cord character is like, oh, she got she's fusing 2 arcanimes. She's just like, no. No, fuck these wizards. That's very funny. That's good they fixed it. Technologies. The technology service, great and small, should now appropriately reduce the cost and build time of Bashiva's military buildings. Note that the peasant huts and peasant stables won't be affected by this tech, as they're not considered military buildings. Cool. That's a good fix. Added bespoke technologies. We talked about those. Fix Celestial Dragon Guard and Celestial Dragon crossbow benefits to provide their benefits to the appropriate units and their ROR versions. Good. Skills, abilities, and traits. Changed Traditions of Fortitude to now affect all Tiger Warrior units instead of just some. Also changed how the Tiger Warrior Sawai benefits are displayed to be more consistent with other skills in the tree. That's very, very good. We do like that. Oh yeah, because I think Traditions of Fortitude was only Iron Claw, so that's a good fix. Caravans now possess a new skill, allowing them to reduce or become immune to attrition. Thank you. That is a critical skill for caravans, because they always have to go through the goddamn Darklands. Like, no matter what you do, you either have to go through the Darklands or you have to go up into the Chaos Waste, practically. And you would always take a stupid amount of Chaos attrition. And you just have to deal with it. Even if you got the, like, you can heal in enemy territory, you were still going to take it. So I'm really glad they fixed that. Or give you a way to fix that. Fixed an issue where Norskin provincial action effects were applying to player armies instead of enemy armies? Oh no, okay, well that's good to fix that. Drycha's skill, the Natural Order, should now increase the recruitment rank of branch rates as intended. Good. Mentor skill was not available for Celestial General Lords. That's been fixed. Drowned Dead, Awakened from the Grave, and Command of the Unliving now receive cooldown reduction from cooldown to all spell effects. Good. The Gates Master's skill, Implacable Spirit, should no longer unnecessarily display the portrait of the Gate Master. Cool. When playing Tic-Tac-Toe, the Skink Priest B should now have the correct skill Gong Attunement instead of Sun Alignment. Okay, good. High Queen Kalida's skill Tenacity now only requires 2 skill points instead of 3. Okay, neat. Warriors of Chaos Tech Giant Manacles and skills Monster Strength and Frequency Mutations will now provide bonuses to the Chimera and Dreadmaw units. I will say, my only issue with that is I feel like the odds of getting a Dreadmaw or a Dreadmaw and I think and Chimera are like stupidly low. Like, even if you have you're like a max tier settlement with max tier buildings and you've unlocked every tech in the tech tree, I want to say a Dreadmaw's like a 1% chance or like a 5% chance. I played like a 120 turn campaign with Kolek. Like, I got the long victory, right? I beat it. And the entire campaign, I never was able to recruit a single Dreadmaw. They need to bump those up. Like, it's fine if they're like 10, 15, 20%, but I think to do anything less than that is like absolutely ridiculous. They shouldn't be less than 10%. Supreme Sorceresses, Warlock Masters, and Warlock Engineers now have a chance to be recruited with a knowledgeable trait. Okay, great. Ashlyn and his Dragonship Admirals no longer have the Looter skill and instead have been granted the Ancient Cunning skill. To facilitate this, Ancient Cunning has been replaced with the Elven Scholar in the second part of the campaign skill line. All right. Fix an issue with Caden Lord Beast not being available to Wood Elves or Bashiva's faction. Weird. I definitely used that in one of my campaigns. Maybe that was a recent issue. Fix an issue where Champions of Slaanesh are missing the Immune to Psych trait provided by Marks of Slaanesh. Oh, well, that's good. Gorbat's skills Shoot Us to the Back and Ride Us onto Flank should now properly grant their respective abilities to Regiments of Renown. Awesome. Cool. Okay, more fixes here. UI. I don't think I'm going to focus super big on this. I'm just going to fly through these real quick. Bashiva's Tiger Warrior Garrison leaders having Cathay names instead of Sawai ones. Okay, whatever. Action points of heroes will now properly be added to lores when they join their army. Okay, cool. Okay, I don't say okay. AI improved performance of Tiger Warrior / Bashiva's campaign AI behavior. Cool. Bashiva's faction now properly sends out caravans. That's nice. Norskin factions will now build mammoth recruitment buildings. Oh no, there were no mammoths. Well, here they come. Battle. Bashiva's final quest battle. Units can no longer move or land on unreachable areas. Zarina Cateran's Ice Sled Mount should now be available to players who don't own Shadows of Change. Fixed the issue with increases to explosion meters made in campaign were not working in battle. Fixed the issue where underground intercepts would trigger a minor settlement battle instead of a subterranean battle. Okay, good. Balance. Made the following changes to address issues with overstacking of speed bonuses when playing as Slaanesh. Sleek now provides speed to the hero, not the army. Sinful Domain. Okay, so basically they just kind of like lowered a lot of the speed buffs or centralized them on certain units to make them less ridiculous. Skyjunk will now have the Eye of the Dragon ability again. Okay. Added missing moving attack animation to the Jade Lancers. Skylander's projectile rain has been correctly adjusted to 275. Cool. Night Goblins. Ladders, who cares? Added aquatic trait to Lokier Felhard and all Black Ark Corsair units. Good. That's great. That's super good. They should have that. Fixed an issue where Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders bows were not counting towards the missile unit cap and missile. Okay, cool. So people, yeah, that's more of a multiplayer thing. Fixed an issue where the Gate Master incorrectly had expert charge defense while on a Warhorse. Okay. Fixed an issue with that. Okay, fixed an issue with Bjork Bearstruck and Marauder Bearman as extended for Wars of Chaos when unit caps were turned on. Okay. Fixed an issue where the Rusty Arrows had worse charge stat than they were supposed to. Calm the steam tanks down a little so they stop moving and spinning of their own accord. Okay, well that's probably good. Skills, ability, and traits. Remove the bullet point from the wind bow, incorrectly stating that it deals scaling damage. Fixed issues where some lords and heroes are missing in courage. Oh, okay, that's actually really good. Fixed an issue where Master of Mist didn't have a cooldown. Fixed an issue where the self effect from Dual Personality Betrayer was not being applied to the Cursed Ed Rune Caller. Okay, those are important fixes. Remove some placeholders. Fix an issue with the Herald of Slanesh. AI, fix an issue where the AI ignores routing units when there are no other suitable targets nearby or urgent tasks. Fix an issue where the AI had problem reforming its big army, causing units to stack on the border of the map. Fix an issue where AI ranges were constantly receiving different orders and changing formation while prioritizing outflanking instead of just shooting on the open units. Okay, those are all good. Fix an issue where AI was stacking units at choke points. Okay, so those are all good fixes. They've added 2 new battles, Blackfire Pass, a land battle, and a ambush battle to Blackfire Pass. That's great. We do like Blackfire Pass. Fix some issues with the Dark Elves Ancient City of Quintex map. Fix some deployment, ambush, and reinforcement zones in various maps. Selection of minor terrain border and height adjustments in maps. All good. Bashi's battle option objective now plays when completed. Cool. Fix a crash caused by caravan encounters from Confederate factions. Fix a crash with some other stuff. Fix various visual issues. These units no longer flicker. Tiger Warrior Stalker's hair no longer does weird shit. Yeah, the only thing I'm not seeing a fix for, the only 2 big things I'm not seeing a fix for that I wanted to see fixes for is I have noticed a notable issue where if Bashiva's being played by the AI, she will sometimes like teleport herself into a weird spot and she basically just becomes like completely untargetable and basically like invincible. Like she can't attack you and you can't attack her and she's just stuck. Like she could still break. So like the battle could still end as long as she's not unbreakable. Which I believe is very hard for her to get, which is not great. I'm also not seeing the fix for Kolek Suneater, which is that the Kolek Suneater can't awaken his particular Norskin tribe because that specific tribe has an error where it's like heart, so like its central location, which is supposed to be the challenge stone. There's a bug that accidentally put it like somewhere over north of the Great Bastion. And it's like stacked on top of another Norskin group. So you can't awaken them, which means Kolek Suneater is the only Warrior of Chaos campaign that basically doesn't have underlings available right away. And he basically can't get Norskin underlings unless he goes and kills one of the other Chaos factions and awakens their tribe or steals them, which is not great. Fix some animation issues. Okay, cool. Miscellaneous, fix some other little issues. All right. Bashiva, the White Tiger passive ability has been increased to 100 meters. Holy moly. Okay, that's really, really big. Tiger Warrior Sawai is 100 gold cheaper. His predatory instincts gives him an additional 24 melee attack. The Dawnglaive now has a 55 meter radius, and he has less splash attack, so he's better at killing people. Claw Speaker, all of his abilities are now cheaper, and the Mantra of Righteousness now gives an additional 25% armor piercing melee effect. Great, cool. And that's nice. Those were probably grossly overcosted. Tiger Warrior Stalkers no longer use precursor weapon profile and are now just true missile skirmishers. That's really good. I actually did not like that they were precursors because it made the role feel weird to me. So like it felt like they were supposed to like maneuver and then you tell them shoot that guy and they throw their little disc things at you. I'm glad they have fixed that. All Tiger Warriors now have the Woodsman attribute. Great, that's gonna make them a lot better. And they all now use the Small Forest Strider effect group. I don't know what that really means, but hey, it sounds cool. Talion the Merciless is now immune to psychology. Cool. Max splash attack has been reduced, so she's better at killing people. And Fueled by Vengeance, the maximum buff she gets by fighting in battle has now been improved. Celestial Dragon Guard got +4 health per guy and +25 mass, so they're going to be way tankier and way better at like holding the line. All Terracotta Sentinels now have the Sunder Armor Contact effect. Okay, that's pretty cool. They're also 50 gold cheaper. I don't know if that's going to make them good. I know they're pretty meh right now, so I hope that makes them better, because they look super cool and it'd be nice to see them be considered more effective. Sunder Armor is really, really powerful. That's going to make them a very good support unit, which I think is a role they should excel in. Astrogoth Ironhand, Mechanical Overdrive, he gets improved base weapon strength. Nice. He also gets an additional 20% AP weapon strength added, so it buffs all forms of damage. Cool. Stone Mantle no longer has a health activation flag. Instead, Oh, okay. So now Stone Mantle gets more powerful based on the amount of spells you cast. Very cool. But you can have your speed reduced by up to 30%, but you gain physical resistance by 40%. Okay, so it'll make you really slow, but it does make you very, very tanky. Mask of Slaanesh lost 400 HP. Holy moly. She also lost 6 melee defense, so she's quite a bit squishier now. The chance of caging has been buffed, so now it gives a 15% speed bonus to her and gives a 15% speed bonus to everyone affected by it, and also gives 15% charge speed. So that's super duper good. The biggest issue was that her one dance that deals damage over time was just grotesquely more powerful than the others. So it's good they're buffing the other two to try and like bring them up to speed. So this one just gives significantly better speed and also improves charge speed. So it just makes you. So Chensen of Caging is really supposed to be used when you're on the charge. Like it should be the dance that you start off with, and it like you're supposed to run into battle with it. And then I assume once you're engaged, switch to one of your other two dances. And then the Waltz of Lethargy now has a 55-meter radius and also gives the Unyielding Assault attribute. That is super good. So Unyielding Assault just means your melee attack cannot be reduced by any means, including Vigor. So that's really, really good to switch to once the game has reached its like mid to late stages when all your units are tired. Because this will make it where all of your Slaanesh units that are tired are now no longer super tired. They're just kicking ass and chewing bubblegum. Slongors lost 600 health, and they also lost 2 charge bonus and 2 armor piercing. Okay, so Slongors got slapped with a pretty significant nerf. Dakala looks like they buffed some of her dances. The Elixir of Damnation now has 5 uses instead of I think only 3. Dance of Destruction now gives an additional 36 melee attack. Holy moly. And it also gives you Unyielding Assault. Very, very good. And then Praise of Slaanesh gives you 360 missile block and improves your missile block to 36. So, okay, making those 2 dances much more viable, because once again, can't remember the name of it, but her third dance was just vastly superior. So that's good. Just buffing the other ones to try and make them more useful. The Rookie Anointed got plus 25 weapon strength on all mounts. Very, very nice. And they can now purchase abilities in custom battle to make them more diverse. Prayton, the Endless Malice effect has been increased to 55 meters, so it's a pretty big AoE now. All-Consuming Hatred now has 40 damage reflection, which is a shitload, and also has unlimited uses. Thank God. It was so stupid that it was only 2 uses. It's like, oh, I make myself easier to kill, but I can get to reflect damage. But you can only use me twice. And it's like, why? Why can I only use that twice when it practically feels more like a debuff than a buff? I don't know if that's going to make it good, but at least you can use it more consistently. Devotees of Slaanesh now have Murderous Mastery. Very cool. Second stage weapon strength is now 20%. Cool. Champions of Slaanesh now have Immune to Psychology, which they are supposed to have, and their bonus for his infantry has been increased by an additional 5. Ooh, spooky. Scourge of Arden now has Wounded Prey Contact Effect. Wounded Prey Contact Effect. That's interesting. I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. And it also can hide in forests, which is good. It should have that. Seeker Chariots, including the mount version of the Seeker Chariot, got minus 20 armor, but plus 20 charge bonus. Hellflayers, okay, so all Slaanesh Chariots got minus 20 armor and plus 20 charge bonus. Exalted Seeker Chariots now cause terror. Nice. And the Hellflayer got plus 5 armor piercing. Okay, that's good. So they're more Slaanesh-y. So they're much less tanky. Minus 20 armor is a lot because they already weren't super armored to begin with. So they're much, much more vulnerable. But that plus 20 charge bonus is huge. They're absolutely going to like mulch your fucking face when they get that charge in, which is pretty goddamn good. But I like that they're clearly they're trying to add more options to their variants. So like, oh, the Exalted Seeker Chariot is now a terror causing, so it's a good terror bomb. The Hellflayer is got more spec'd into armor piercing damage. So I like they're diversifying the roles a bit. Chaos Lord of Slaanesh now has base the Soporific Musk contact effect. Very good. Soporific Musk is a fantastic contact effect. I believe it's mostly revolves around lowering what? Melee attack and speed, I think? But good. Beguiling Gem now gives a minus 20% speed effect when you hit somebody with it. Cool. Makes them easier to chase down and whoop. Demoness of Slanesh are 50 gold cheaper. Cool. Aluris, cheaper by 50 gold on all mounts. Plus 5 melee defense when she's on demonic speed. The Locus of Swiftness now has a 40-second duration. Alrighty. Now that I think about it, still need to talk to CA about fixing that. I think Skull Taker and the Mask, I think they're both missing their Locus effects. I think the Blue Scribes are as well, because they're all supposed to have a Locus effect because they're lesser demons. And they all have a Locus in Tabletop. I need to bug somebody about that. The Marquis of Masochism is 100 gold cheaper. He can now use Enfeebling Foe twice instead of only once. Cool. Cultists of Slanesh, cooldowns have been adjusted on Penitent of Slanesh and Torment Blade. The Chimera has lost 5 leadership. And then it I'm assuming they're saying that the Flaming Breath no longer deals as much damage. I think that's what they're saying, is the Flaming Breath got debuffed a bit. Bloodstreak Chimera has minus 5 leadership as well, and the Perfect Predator target range is now 55 meters. So he can't activate Perfect Predator if there's an enemy within 55 meters. Dreadmaw, another minus 5 leadership. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of these monsters are lowering their leadership's going down, so they're easier to break. Burrow now has a 25%, a 25-second cooldown. However, the shooting attack on all of his shooting attack now has a much larger explosion projectile radius, and also I believe deals more damage with the actual explosion part. So it's better against like clumped up enemies and infantry. The Famir Noble, 50 gold cheaper. He also has a very high hit reaction / ignore chance, so he has a 70% chance to not stagger essentially when he's hit. And his Favored by the Matriarch is also cheaper, and the threshold goes off at 25%. Bjorg Bearstruck has switched out his bonus versus infantry for bonus versus large. I think that makes sense for him. The only thing that's I think that's better for what he's supposed to be doing. It does make him a little weirder when he's teamed up with like Werekins, because now they do the same thing. Whereas like it kind of was like, oh, okay, it's kind of nice if you team them up together, because like the Werekins were anti-large and then he was anti-infantry. But like Norska has so much anti-infantry available to it. I think him having bonus versus large makes a lot more sense. And will actually make him much, much, much more competitive. He can now purchase Colossal Strike in custom battles. Cool. He no longer has the Potion of Toughness. He now has Praeton Horns as an option in custom battle. I think that makes a lot of sense. Potion of Toughness on him is like weirdly redundant. His hit reaction / ignore chance is up to 75%. Holy moly. The Bearfang Talisman now has a 25-second duration, and Warcry now has a 22-second duration. Cool. Riders of the Mighty Serpent, ROR, 100 gold more expensive. And the prices, these don't really matter that much unless you're playing multiplayer. So go see like Anticity if you want nuance on that. All Kurgan Horsemen got plus 420 HP. Cool, so quite a bit more tanky. Dual weapons got plus 5 weapon strength. Wolfric the Wanderer, the Hunter of Champions ability now reduces the armor of the target by 60. That is a big ol' nasty buff for that ability. The Sword of Targald now has the Inevitable End Contact effect. That is super good. If I remember, so the Sword of Targald is his weapon that can activate. I can't remember if that means it prevents healing or if that means it gives you the Executioner trait. It's one of the two. I want to say it prevents healing. But either way, that is very, very good on Wolfric. And his War Mammoth version is 150 gold cheaper. Okay, that's pretty nice. Throg is 50 gold cheaper. He can now purchase Colossal Strike Custom. And his Copious Vomit attack now provides the Stomach Acid Contact effect that you would get from... Ooh, I don't know if anybody gives Stomach Acid as a contact effect. A part of me thought it was River Trolls, but I don't think they do. I'll have to check out what that is, because I don't know what that is on the top of my head. Famir, all versions from the Mist now gives you plus 5 melee defense, and you are now considered aquatic large ground stat groups. Hey, great. So Famir will be more consistently good when they're fighting in water features, as they should be. Pharaoh Mammoth, 100 gold cheaper. Curse at Runecaller now gets 3 uses of all of his spells. That's so good for him. That's way better. That feels more in line with what it should be, because he's supposed to be more of a traditional full-time caster. So that's good. Dual personalities, Savage. When Savage is active, he now gets, I think, better wins of magic reserves per second. So he's just a more useful tool. Soul Crusher got -1, whopping 1 melee defense. Who cares when you're dealing with a 1? It's 150 gold cheaper. Toad Dragons. 2,000, got plus 2,000 health. Holy moly. Base damage is now down from 275 to 200, but he has got that back in melee AP. So just flat buff. So just a flat buff. So he's just much better against armor. But he does the same amount of damage. He just performs much better against armored units. Has increased acceleration. That's good for when he's trying to go somewhere. The collision attack profile has been adjusted, and the unspeakable foulness trait that he has no longer requires you to be in melee. So just some really nice flat buffs for the Toad Dragon. We see that Bubabelos is pretty much the exact same, though his stats are just higher. It's cheaper to take him on foot. His bonus surge is large is now 30. His hit reaction / knock interrupt chance is now 80%, so it's incredibly difficult to hurt him. Like, holy moly. The Black Cleaver and Rotting Host range have been improved to 55 meters, so that's a huge AoE. And the Feast of the Maggot Lord now heals you starting at 50%. Or does that mean it gives you 50%? Because I think Feast of the Maggot Lord is... I want to say that's his ability that when he's at like 10% health, if there's a character within range, he pops it and he does like a ton of damage to characters and then heals a bunch. I think this is saying that he heals 50% of his health, which for him, I want to say that's a lot. I want to say that's a buff. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's a buff. Though he does, obviously he has a heal cap. Rot Flies are cheaper. Cool. Plague Ogres, both variants, got over 300 health. Very nice. And also a little cheaper. Nurgling got plus 15 health per entity. Nurgling stonks. Nurgling stonks are up. Plus 2 melee attack as well for Nurglings. Rot Knights. Mount entity shape is now ellipse. Okay, so they have more of a proper mount shape. The Plague Ridden. Minus 150 gold on all variants. Plague Fail can now be purchased in custom battle for Plague Ridden. And the Locus of Virulence has an additional damage buff and now will last for 25 seconds. Cool. Herald of Nurgle, minus 200 gold on all variants and can buy the Tormentor Sword now. Epidemius, minus 50 cost plus 30 weapon sickness. And then all of his stuff has been buffed. So Sands of Sickness now has a 25-second duration. The Tallyman's Blades, when they're summoned, they now last for 2 minutes. And the Tally of Pestilence buff, if he can get it off, the max melee attack is now 20 for him and all nearby Plague Bearer stuff. Very, very good. Bilious Thunderguff ROR no longer has the poison contact effect, but now has corroded armor. That is so much better. And then Violent Wind has increased damage, so his fart ability has increased damage, and it will remove the corroded armor contact effect and will replace it instead with suffocating. Very nice. Okay, that's cool for Nurgle. So that means he has less redundancy and actually now provides like more unique buffs. The Great Unclean One now has Fetid Stench base. Ooh, that's really good. Is Fetid Stench the damage over time? I'm not 100% sure about that. But I think Fetid Stench is the damage over time. If that is, Great Unclean One's just got a huge buff. I'll have to double check. That could just be a debuff. That might just be a debuff. I'm not 100% sure. Cultists of Nurgle can now purchase the Brass Cleaver in custom battles. That's really good. Brass Cleaver is awesome. It's just a permanent melee attack buff. Warrior Bane now reduces base weapon of nearby enemies by 12%. Very cool. Changeling, the Deceiving Shadows ability, now gives 25% spell mastery to the Changeling. That's much nicer. That's really, really good. Decoy now has the Disoriented Contact effect. Oh, the Decoy actually does something now? That's cool. Cloaked and Cloud, Cowled and Cloaked, there we go. Now gives you a 25% movement speed bonus. Very cool. And it's 100 gold cheaper. Cool. Okay, that's nice and bust for the changeling. Screamers of Tzeentch got plus 15 health per entity. That's going to make them notably tankier. Not a ton. I think there's only like 16 entities. That's a good amount of bonus health, not a crazy amount. But they also get plus 4 charge bonus. That's pretty good. I mean, Screamers are decent. They're not amazing, but they're decent. Flamers of Tzeentch now are 50 gold cheaper. The Cockatrice, the Petrifying Gaze, now has 2 uses instead of only 1. Nice. It has a 2-minute cooldown. Very cool. Iridescent Horror. Locus of Change now lasts longer, and he can now buy more items. In multiplayer, Village the Curseling can now hide in the forest, just like he should be able to, because he did in his trailer. The Vessel of Chaos now heals your barrier at 1% per second, and has a 35-meter AoE. That is super good. So now Village the Curseling, as you build up his Vessel of Chaos, that means he is going to be regenerating the barrier of himself and everyone within 35 meters at 1% per second, which is pretty good, actually. That's pretty decent. I don't know if it's going to be good enough to like make him like takeable necessarily in multiplayer, but that's going to make him certainly better in campaign. Blazing Squealer's ROR got plus 27 accuracy. Okay, cool. And they're 100 gold cheaper. Echoed Hellbrass now has a whopping 75% ignore chance. The Thorn's aura ability now lasts for 30 seconds. And the Windblade Vortex radius has increased to 4 meters. So the Windblade now has a larger vortex as it's running around. The Blue Scribes now get the flammable contact effect on their missile weapon. That's going to make them much better. Because that means they're actually providing a useful support role by increasing the amount of damage all your other stuff's going to do. Mutant Vortex Beast now is 100 gold cheaper. Aeson the Fallen has a higher spread range now of 40 meters. That's pretty generous. Makes that hopefully a more reliable ability to use. The Burning Chariot of Tzeentch, all variants including mounts, get an additional 20 bonus versus infantry. Holy moly. Warp Flame contact effect added for melee. Whoa, that's a big change. Okay, that actually makes them much more useful when they run out of ammo. Because it's kind of been that the Burning Chariot, like once it ran out of ammo, it just kind of sucked. Like it was like, oh, this is kind of garbage. So that's good. That's a good change. The basic Lord of Change and the Golden Griffin now all have the Seer of Destiny ability. Hey, that's nice. Okay, that's a good fix. That's a nice little buff for them. And the Golden Griffin can now use Searing Doom twice instead of only once, even though they spelled searing wrong. Okay, honestly, really solid patch. I'm curious how the like AI changes and everything have gone on. I think I'll probably be streaming this the next time I stream. I know I'm doing a lot of stuff with like Elden Ring and Final Fantasy 14 right now, but Total War is still kind of like my one true love. So I think I'm going to try and dedicate a bit of time to playing some Total War soon, just because I want to see a lot of these changes on stream. But I think this is a really solid patch. Literally the only thing we didn't get that would have made this, I think, a full 10 out of 10 for me would have been like a new unit variant, just one. I know they're not doing that as much right now. Well, they're not doing it at all until I think they're done with Lords of the End Times. But the only bugs that are like in my brain immediately that I don't see addressed in here is I'm still not seeing. I still need them to fix the Bashiva bug that I talked about earlier, and I still need them to fix the Collect Sun Eater bug I talked about earlier. Hopefully they'll be getting on that soon. But as for upcoming videos, the videos that I would really expect to see from me soon when it comes to Total War, and the thing I want to try and get into, I'm going to wrap this up because I've already been talking for too long. The big thing I want to try and do is I'd like to get to, there's a dedicated time every week that I release a Total War video. Whether it's talking about content that's come out, or it's like prediction content, or like concerns, or bug requests, fixes, or content requests, like any of that stuff. I really want to try to get back to like consistently putting out videos, and I'm thinking I might do it on like Wednesdays, but stay tuned for that because I'm almost done with the mount script, the mount video script, and then from there I'd really like to like talk about like the character packs, future character packs. That way there's just like a nice, easy place where people can look at those for reference if they're looking for ideas. Because I've got like a ton of them in my head. But also, like, do I think they should do anything besides character packs? And all sorts of other stuff. But please let me know what your thoughts are down below about this patch. Is there anything they didn't address that you really wish had been addressed that maybe y'all would want me to pass on to the dev team? Is there anything you're really, really excited about? Is there anything that you hope you see more of? Yeah, let me know your thoughts. But I really appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with me as I just sort of chewed through this. I really think this is one of the best patches we've had because it just had like a really nice chunk of everything. It's obviously it's not as good as if it had been like a faction rework, but for kind of being a bit of a scattershot, I think it's a really, really nice update. Obviously I need to have some more playtime before I can give like a full opinion on it, because for all I know they might be like, oh, we made the AI better, and then I'm gonna go in and play it and it's like garbage. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you soon.